And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and where are you? And there are Nazis in your underpants. And there have been Nazis in your underpants for a long, long, long time. So here's a young lady, and it's kind of interesting. See what you think.
Even though Israel has killed 150 journalists almost deliberately because they don't want those images. Right now, I don't think we can just sit there and watch, observe an ongoing genocide. Anybody who was telling the truth either got buried or censored.
Thank you, dear.
Do you want cream and sugar?
Oh, yeah. And do I get a roll with that?
It's now been over 7 months since the October 7th attack that marked the latest chapter in the Israeli onslaught against Gaza, the world's largest concentration camp. Relief organizations are sounding the alarm about an impending famine in Gaza as Israel enters Rafah, where Palestinians were told was a safe haven. Over 1 million people in Gaza have been categorized to be sitting at a catastrophe famine level. 5 miles of aid trucks are lined up at the Rafah border with no signs of Israel letting them in. While President Joe Biden has warned that he would halt weapons transfers to Israel if a Rafah invasion moves forward, the Biden administration just approved another $1 billion arms sale to Israel, revealing once again the United States' unequivocal support for this horrific war that has already killed over 40,000 people. A set of flotilla ships were destined to sail from Turkey to break Israel's blockade and deliver much-needed aid to Gaza. The ships were full of hundreds of peace activists and notable figures from around the world willing to risk their life, carrying tons of humanitarian aid, including ambulances. But at the final hour, the flotilla's journey was stopped before it even started. After Guinea-Bissau pulled its flag, it was later revealed that Israel had requested that the tiny African nation pull back its efforts from joining the humanitarian mission. One of the people destined to crew the ship was Colleen Rowley, an FBI whistleblower who was Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 2002 after she testified concerns regarding the FBI ignoring information of suspected terrorists during 9/11. Seeing that neither the Department of Justice nor the FBI would hold officials accountable, she quit. Since leaving the FBI, Colleen has become a prominent peace activist, campaigning for an end to murder.
So the fact about this Colleen is she's been an FBI agent, she's been an intelligence agent for 50 years, right? So she's been watching this go on, whole thing in Israel, 47 on. This has been the same story over and over and over again. So the real deal is where, why is this all going on? Why is the war now in Ukraine? Why is there a war now in Gaza, right? Well, there have been wars, and why is, and you look at Africa, Sierra Leone, there are more dying people, there's 8 million people who have been displaced from their house, right? Any place where the real estate is worth something, there are resources, you'll have war. So, and in Sierra Leone, there are these 2 generals, actually just, having a pissy fit, but millions of people are dying. And what they're doing is, they're basically doing genocide. They're basically getting rid of the people so they can then just turn it over to the same corporate structure that was there, 30 years ago. So nothing's changed. It's the same corporate structure. So you go, I can barely pay my car insurance. What am I supposed to be doing? So everything that goes on for a reason, right? And you can either be a player or you can be a pawn. You can be on stage or behind the stage, right? Behind a curtain, right? You can either be stupidly ignorant of what's going on, and in the end, you basically die. Like the people in Boston, Ohio, where the train went off the tracks, and their whole county has been totally toxed out, and no one. I don't know what to do. How about the folks in Virginia and West Virginia and Kentucky where coal mines have been, digging out underneath their homes for the last 100 years, and now coal is not economically feasible. So all the companies who made trillions of dollars and are still making money from that coal being sold to places to make electricity, and basically they went bankrupt. So they're not legally responsible for the toxic dump that they left behind, and especially in Virginia and West Virginia. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Can we get you anything else?
Do you have a little gravy, maybe?
More gravy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, dear. So, what are you going to do? So that's why this is a chat. We're supposed to be talking. Right? So AI, public radio, PRX. Thank you, sweetie. So, I have this skill set. I'm an Aquarian's Aquarian, right? So my whole raison d'etre is to fix things. Right? So I'm great at fixing electrical things. Great at fixing people. People are tough though. And that you can get them on the right track. What? They basically lose their way. And they're very susceptible to trauma. But right now, I'm living in the deep green. And I bought this place 25 years ago, knowing I'd be in this situation. Or 25 years ago, I was an itinerant scholar. After my little turn at being the dude in New York City, I left New York and I went to Cornell. And I had a friend of mine. So in New York, I was a dude, not just because I was a good electrician, not just because I built fancy restaurants and discotheques and nightclubs, and recording studios, and performance houses like Phil Maurice, CBGB's, Knitting Factory, PS1, Danceteria, and a myriad more. So, So, I left New York in '88 when my second wife died in my arms. And New York was too much. I mean, I did a lot of stuff there. We We housed 500 homeless families. Meaning, you want to get rid of homelessness, you don't make shelters or tents or places in the park where they can camp out. No. Otherwise, you're going to have a Gaza Strip. You give them a home. And why Gaza went through this trauma is because people didn't accept living in a tent for the last 70 years. They built cities, right? I mean, even though they're being controlled by Israel, socially, economically, environmentally, it still thrive. The amazing thing for the Palestinians, they can thrive under any circumstance. So, a good portion of the Palestinians aren't Muslim, they're Christian. And Muslims are Christians on steroids. Right? We live in a Garden of Paradise planet. I mean, go look at Venus, Jupiter, Mars. You know, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. I don't know. So, what you have to have to keep the Nazis out of your underpants, you have to create a village, an eco-village. And the citizens have to be community cultivators. Right? If you set that up, and I've been doing this for 50 years now, once you get people into being responsible to their own life and not just being a slave to the corporate, because you don't have to work for the corporate structure to be a slave to the corporate structure. So, you know that guy over there talking? And then the whole day watching TV, going channel to channel to channel to channel, looking from the street. There's nothing there. So, constant running game. That's basketball. That's any field sport. Constant run. Whereas football, that's kind of a militarized sport, right? Groups march, Go look at George Carlin, what he says about football. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, a box to go and a bag.
Do what?
A box to go and a bag.
Okay.
If we now, this is supposed to be a conversation, right? So, go watch Captain America, the first 3 movies. Stan Lee put it out exactly what it is. We're living in a world of hell hydrants. Mm. Mm. So, when you watch world events on whatever news channel you watch, go to another news channel, right? And if you're watching MSNBC, go watch Fox. Watching PBS, go watch CNN. And you'll see the same thing. And then go to the next channel, and the next, and you'll see that it's all the same. The suits may change, the girl's hair color might change. But pretty much, it's the same stuff. And then we go on social media. People are going on and on, just saying the same thing. There's no difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. There are service differences, right? Donald Trump buys so much that he tells the truth. He's going on about crime is so bad. I'm bringing all the military back to America. Right? That means we're going to have martial law. Right? We're going to get rid of Happy Comitatus, which is the law saying that you can't use the U.S. Army against U.S. citizens. We're going to have our own Gaza Strip along the southern border. Because it really doesn't matter, because Mexico and Canada are the same country. That's what NAFTA made. NAFTA made Mexico and Canada and the United States one country. That's why it doesn't matter who's the politician. All these people, well, I know, Joe Kane. I was talking to Larry, and he said blah blah blah. Senator Larry. So the girl who's the only Palestinian in the Congress. You know, she went off the hook. I bet you her, when she went to college, she majored in theater. If it's good enough to win, that was a good game. Mm-hmm. I was working in the garden yesterday, just for an hour, and it wasn't high noon either. The sun was just coming up, and it toasted me like a piece of bacon. Well, bottom line is, we're in a new world of hurt.
Drawing attention to the use of informants by intelligence agencies and drawing attention to the Bush-era crazies who are pushing us all towards nuclear Armageddon. I sat down with Colleen to discuss Israel's chokehold on American politicians, the farce of the two-party system, the rise of BRICS, and the inner workings of U.S. intelligence agencies to serve war interests, and so much more. The United States has played an integral role of being aiding, abetting, and providing diplomatic comfort for Israel to commit this genocide. While standing in front of the camera, we have Antony Blinken and Joe Biden talking about human rights, resistance, and the right to defend itself, and all of these things. So we're getting double messaging here. So talking about the Democratic Party right now, showing their true face to the American public, supporting this genocide.
Well, the hypocrisy is absolutely nauseating. And every time I even hear something on the television about one of the NBC closes with, take care of yourself and others. After, you're part of bombing and killing thousands and thousands of women and children, unbelievable. Our CD2 congresswoman just put out something about teachers. They've eradicated the schools and universities in Gaza, and she says she supports teachers. I mean, you see this hypocrisy on every level. I think Biden must think his hypocrisy is still fooling people. It may still be fooling some small group of people, the ardent partisans. There certainly are ardent partisans of both parties, and they don't pay a whole lot of attention to issues. They're just loyal to their leader of their party. So maybe it's fooling them, but I don't think it's fooling a lot of people. And I do think that young people, especially, have really taken this on as a mission and to educate other people. And they're actually, the news has been forced to cover it. So I think that the efforts being made right now are slowly helping defeat this hypocrisy of the party. And there was something I was going to mention. I can't remember when you first started about the trucks. Okay, the trucks waiting. Okay, so here's the hypocrisy. One of the lies that went out. We can't get humanitarian aid in, Biden says. We're trying to get humanitarian aid in. And in a way, that might have been part of the reason why they couldn't actually denigrate the flotilla mission in the United States, why the Washington Post actually wrote a pretty decent story, is because how can you be against humanitarian aid for starving people when the International Court of Justice has ordered people to try to prevent the genocide? How can you be against that? Okay, so that's very difficult. So what did they say? Oh, we're going to drop parachutes of food. Actually, one of those crates or whatever hit somebody and killed someone. Dumb idea. Then they said, oh, well, build a pier at cost of millions of dollars. They were going to build a pier that took several months to build. I don't even think the building has even started. But this is to maintain that false stance that they're trying to get humanitarian aid, when, as you say, all they would have to say is no more weapons unless the borders are opened and you allow humanitarian aid in. And that is the line that Biden will not cross. He will not give Israel the ultimatum of not funding and arming the genocide. So it's complete double talk, saying that you want humanitarian aid when you won't stop arming them. In fact, no, the United States is actually complicit with the genocide. And even a country tried to say Germany was complicit because of funding Israel. So it's nauseating, absolutely nauseating. And the good news is people are finally seeing through some of it.
As we see and experience this wave of dissent that's just taking over our streets and our college campuses across this country and around the world, we're really experiencing and witnessing this awakening happening. Where the moral depravity of the so-called international rules-based order has really exposed itself to be the war-hungry establishment that it truly is. And you're a dissenter yourself. You're a former FBI whistleblower. And so I want you to tell us a little bit more about your background as an FBI whistleblower, your time at the FBI, and what made you a whistleblower.
Well, initially, 9/11 occurred, and I wasn't the only one to know why it had happened, which was essentially a failure to share information. It's as simple as that. And it wasn't just the Minneapolis office who had actually arrested one of the suspects that later was found to be connected to the 19 hijackers. He wasn't found to be connected before 9/11, which could have prevented it, because FBI headquarters would refuse to take this FISA emergency warrant.
I keep saying that this is a theatrical event. Our whole planet is a theatrical. Aliens are public. This is a TV show for some alien race. Pretty entertaining. Lots of blood and gore. Bleeds, it leads. A little pathos. Cute little humans. But it's everywhere. And it's a virus. So, I'm out. So New York City was my town. I grew up in it, born in 1950, was a kid in the 1950s, teenager in the 1960s, a young adult in the 1970s, right? And I started being an electrician at 9. I kept blowing stuff in my parents' apartment up. My mom walked me down 3rd Avenue. There was Mike Stoll on 3rd Avenue. He had his office at a building on 3rd Avenue, and maybe, 60-something street. And because we lived on 69th and Park, and my mom just walked over to 3rd Avenue, went down there, and bing, there's his place. Went in there, and Mike was there, and he had, a nice little front office, and the girl there, and his office in the back, and things upstairs, and little things further back, and anyway, so my mom said, "Wait, I need an electrician. My son's this." And so Mike comes out and looks at me. And Mike has 5 daughters, no sons. Right? His father, Mike Sr., Stoll, Grandpa Stoll is what he was known as, and Mike was Mike because he didn't want to be Junior. So Mike did, Grandpa Stoll started the IBEW in 1908 or 9 or 10, in the early O's of the 20th century. And he was an electrician. He worked for Tesla in the 90s, right? And 1890s. He was part of the guys who brought the power from New York State all the way to Chicago to run the Chicago fair. So anyway, and he had neon lights instead of incandescent light bulbs. I mean, so I was taught by the top of the rung, right? And they both had a worldview that most people didn't have. That they wired all these amazing buildings, right? Chrysler Building, Empire State Building. Campbell Stove had a picture of the Chrysler Building, made out of stainless steel, and it was one gigantic Tesla coil, and it was a picture of Mr. Chrysler, Nikola Tesla, and another guy. Basically, they had wired the Chrysler Building to not be hooked up to the utility, to just be a 0-point energy source. And Mr. Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan said, "No, don't think that's a nice building, but you got to put Edison wires in." Anyway, so the world has been kept from us, right? But it's right in front of our faces, right? And my whole life, I have been, I'm like the Forrest Gump of, but I'm not the Forrest Gump, right? I'm that little feather that floats into the frame, right? And then floats out, right? And I've been around pretty amazing things, and I've had pretty amazing mentors who all wanted me to be this, that, or the other. And they were like, I was like Gumby. They were sculpting me into be whatever they wanted me to be. And I was just happy to be there, right? And one of the things I love is to learning stuff, especially stuff that other people have no idea what's going on. I learn that. I'm part of it. I see it. I understand it. So when I got into my late 30s and 40s and 50s, I was hired by the corporate world to be first an itinerant scholar, to be a scholar fellow. And I was like a good fellow. Like the movie was Goodfellas, but instead of whacking people one at a time, I was working for people who were whacking whole populations and countries and races and genders, and I was keeping a running little tab of it. And so I'm reading, a friend of mine gives me all these books that, are pulp fiction, but a lot of these authors are really, really good. And so I'm reading this woman, and it's Spring voice and this voice, but it's all about what's going on. And she's really good. Next show, I'll bring a book and show you. But so my dad was a bird colonel in the U.S. Air Force, and he worked for Curtis LeMay and Mr. McNamara. Right? They turned into talk about genocide. The U.S. Air Force was turned into a genocide machine, way more competent than Buchenwald. So and those places, those death camps, were there to. They were more like temples of death. And what we did were mechanisms of death, right? Free fires in France, anything that moves, kill it. A lot of innocent people got killed in that one. We didn't care. Look what we did to Southeast Asia. We just carpet bombed the whole place for 20 years. There's still explosives in those rice paddies that kids are dying from. And you look at the processed food that's getting put out, right? And the environmental catastrophe that the planet is turning into for a profit. Now this girl here is talking on about blah, 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 blah. Everyone goes, oh, she's so brave. No, she's put there. She's from a loyal opposition. She tells the story, right? And you guys, a lot of you come and watch this later on. It's just, all right, that's nice. But it'd be nice if you pass the word on to other people so they might inform themselves. And all this information's there. The internet is that you Google any of this stuff. Operation Paperclip, Nazis in America, 1947. Go Google that, right? So, National Security Act, 1947. Google that. Spanish American War. Google that. So anyway, we've done the show in about 34 minutes. I threw out a bunch of information. Truth. Remember, there's Nazis in your underpants. Watch out for them. Worse than ants. Ants can be friendly. Nazis never are. Okay. Love you guys. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. You got it?